Hello, and this is my new video where I've had the upgrade done to the computer since the last time I was talking on my previous video. Look inside. And we have a few changes here. The main change that we have is the graphics card here for the Sapphire AMD R9 280. All that was €250. I got a new motherboard with that we can see. The RAM changed, the CPU is an AMD, and we have the parts box to show you later. We have a big aftermarket cooling fan that came with this, and it fits just nicely in here. I'll take a more detailed look. We have AMD Sapphire. Where's a touch feel. The button here that when it's on it has an LED, it's probably for activating sort of BIOS reset or something, I'm not too sure what it is, maybe it's the Crossfire button right here. The card about the same as my old card, so there's no problem with fitting there, and it was 2 6s instead of a 6 and an 8 that we said before. And we didn't need the old sound cable because this is a newer card, and we had the provided ports. You have the DisplayPort 2.0, HDMI, DVI, another DVI, but you can only use 3 of them, so you could choose the 3 across the top. So that's the best configuration if you want to use 3 display screens. I've only got 1 myself. A 32-inch upstairs. It's not well enough for now. You have the motherboard that had the different connections. There's USB 3.0 header. This case doesn't have one, as you saw in the last video. Has a connection for the USBs into the front of the case. I have a third set of USBs. Let's see, right. There's not 3 in this. USB 1, 2. This is the audio for the case itself. That's the providing the sound through the motherboard. Elsewhere in the case you have the big market cooler. This one came with this, so that's why I have it. Makes the case a little louder to have on. You can see there's a bit of clearance issue with the fan, had to be zip tied for it to fit. But it only used a 4-pin power, so it's more efficient. It wasn't an 8-pin. Well, I didn't know details about the motherboard anyway. Now the fans are pointed so they blast air out here. It matched that side there. I'm going to take the fan off to get the cooler in first. It's a pretty big unit. And the 2 fans up front as normal. And the one on the top, of course, blow the air out. So the only in are these 2 fans down the bottom and the back there. See the fans? Yeah. Now the RAM is faster than my old. Instead of 1333 MHz, it's 1666, I believe. And it's 2 sticks. Instead of 6 sticks of RAM that you fit in, you can only fit 4 in this DDR3. And you have 2 sticks at 4 GB each, so there's 8 in this instead of 6, so that was the upgrade to the RAM, and it's faster RAM, so you can always have 2 more sticks. You should need more than that. 16 gigs you could get with that anyway, so there's no problem there. So you have the CPUs inside there, that's AMD's in there. See, with this strap you kind of screw them down, 4 screws. You see the 2 on this side. It's brilliant. It's just a little bit louder, but it works fine. So far you can see the two fans that are on it. Keep it cool. That's part where the sound might be coming from. It only runs when it really needs to, so that's a good additional feature. Now you can see it takes two sets of screws to fit two display ports, and that's the cooling exhaust fan here. Let's take another one of these off. That was the upgrade we had in the computer here, so it was basically the RAM, CPU, the cooler, the graphics card, and of course the motherboard to fit it all onto. And I kept the power supply and my old hard drive. Reinstalling was easy enough for Windows. It was simple enough because you have a few parts there, you know. There's in the hard drive, just install some drivers and install the old graphics card drivers, and we're ready to go. And I'll be back with the parts box in a moment. And here's the box. So I got supplied the MSI Military Class 4 motherboard, the A78M E45. So this was specifically a gaming kind of motherboard, with the instructions and the MSI disc itself. So it came with it. So it was easy enough installing the drivers for the internet and all the sound and USB 3.0 drivers, because on the back of the computer they were showed the motherboard ports. So let's show those real quick. We have the normal sound ones, two USB 2.0s, HDMI port, DVI port in this, VGA as well. We have the 6 sound like in my last one, and we have 4 USB 3.0s that didn't work at first to install those drivers, and you have the internet, of course, the Ethernet cables there. The box. Jesus. We had the board already. There's 2 BIOS, a redundant BIOS in case you mess up the original one. It has a graphical user interface BIOS. Notice by the click. It boots pretty quick. PCI Express, the third 3.0 version of the USBs for the PCI slots. And 3 display outputs, which it has the HDMI, DVI, and you have diesel. It's probably just a display port 3.0. Looking at the old port I have here, you can see you simply have the old style I/O shield, put back in the different packet on the board that had that, obviously. That's the back, that's the main front parts. And we want to make sure you're grounded. Just touch something there, or a select CPU fan and pick it up safely like that. Still have all of the ports here, the 3 sets of the RAM, which is 1333 MHz, 3x2, these are the sticks for both. That's the bottom of the motherboard, that's the CPU mounting bracket, CPU is under there, and I have the ports here. There were 3 on this, there's 2 on the other board. More than enough, plenty of space for it. There's 16X and an 18X on the old one. This is generation 2 though. So the 8X is worth 16, similar to these ones. There's only 2 slots, but I won't be using 3 graphics cards anyway. Most I might use is probably 2 if I get another AMD one for €200. I don't know about doing that. 200 or 300 euros between. I had a few more SATA ports on it. You can see the sideways ones there. The power cords connect there, as we know before. You have the fan and the power by 4-speed fan. We have, like I said, this one is a 16 slot as well, but the other board had a PCI Express. This one was a 16X Generation 3, which is like a 32 of this, but it's a maximum of 16 these go to. And this one's a 16, which is the same as the 8 on my other board, which is 16 on Generation 2, 8X, but it's twice as fast version 3. That an 8X is like a 16X version 2. Graphics cards are not going over that yet, so you can always just move the new card down a slot if I get the brand new one. That might be using more speed to work. They just have the anti-static bag off MSI. The other board, just to hold it, keep it from static discharge. It'll be very useful spare or sell on. If you guys are interested, there's the Asus P6 TSE motherboard. I have the box for that in here as well. It was my old one that I had. Show it first. That's the one my one was. So it's really nice. There's my stuff in there where I ordered. Windows discs. That's just the mouse that came with it. With all the sticks, a few CDs and my own drivers on. Intel chip that came with it, instructions, the guide, motherboard instructions. I also have in here the case, the Antec case that it was, the case that I had, and the quick start guide for the motherboard itself. All the different languages there. The display ports that came with them, the converters. Yeah, I also have case parts I put in here. This was the top one, it's probably for a floppy drive or something. You could use these as adapters. This big bracket kind of is screwed into the case. So I had to take it out to get the CD drive in. And they kind of just, there's two more in there if you take them out if you need the spaces on the front. There's a load of screws as well in here. So it's great, you can probably use it for a solid state hard drive, 2.5 inch or something further to fit into the 5.inches bays anyway. You know, because it's a 3.5 inch bay. And it's a 2.5 inch bay for those floppies and the solid state drives and any other kind of extensions you might want. Now this is the back plate we took off from the board to get the second ports for the graphics card available. They just screw right off the back. You probably saw the other day in the previous video. Just put that back together. And the graphics card box is the one that the man had himself, which I was going to get, the 980 as I was saying before. The graphics card alone is over €600 to €800, you know. So I wasn't going to be using that. I shield in with the box, the motherboard. They come included with the board now. And you buy them new anyway. Now this is the one he brought, the GTX 980. Dual DVI, 3x mini display port, that's all just to do with the case there. We just use it to store my old hard drive. And the RAM was in here. This is the RAM that was put in, he had each, one stick in each. So I'd say probably, as you can see there, 1600 RAM. It's probably the one that he had for his RAM sticks, perhaps, because he upgraded his old system, as I was saying. That's why he was selling these parts. an adapter that just for the old VGA, and they have cover caps. Managed to borrow one off the card I had from MSI here just to cover up the ports. This is my old GTX 260 card. I just used the static bag that came with the MSI packet, because we probably obviously didn't have the old case, so I gave me this one. Now we can get a clearer look at the parts. Like I said, this is for the bridging, say on the top, because it was laid down this way. So you can see the screws position here, and the two covers on the parts. See, I had a cap on here, slips on like so. It says on it DVI. It says DVI-I for the interlaced one. But anyway, it's just one we had. So we had the chip. That's where you have a back plate on them sometimes. I don't know if that affects cooling in any way, maybe makes no difference. But you can see this one was a strange brand, Sparkle Computer made this one. So I had the cooling fan you saw the other day there. Now you have on the bottom the PCI Express slot. As you can see, when you place it in, it clicks in. You can push the button that would be here on the board to release. It's basically the graphics card that I had. You can see with the old sound port fitted the two pins for sound, that white square. Obviously the power display, 6 and the 6, that's the same as the card I've got, but it is immensely more powerful. Now if any requests are interested in seeing the difference, benchmark on the card just to show the performance and the difference and the rating on Windows Experience Index or something, I can definitely throw up a video on that. I might add a slight bit of commentary, but it'll be using a screen capture, and I'll just put my voice as a second track onto it. You'll be able to hear the performance. Now, the only other thing in here really to show was the AMD A-series card that it was in, the black edition. Multi-core CPU technology plus discrete GPU technology is AMD A-series. So you have a max resolution of 5760 by 1200 pixels. You'll see it all. So it's more of a gaming kind of set of CPUs. We don't have to call them APUs in AMD's case. So you just have where you could probably see it in here. That's what I got with the box. Has just a bit of instructions on them anyway. So how to apply thermal paste and all that, I'd imagine would be in that. I haven't fully had time to look through it yet. So you just have to take a look at it after the new year. So here's one to kind of protect your ports. It matters which way you have the points pointing. It's like maybe a prefer being a little bit safer with your card and leaving the ports not pointing towards the entrance of the bag, but it wraps around just fine in this case. So you can seal it up. Seal that in there. Neat. I'll go ahead and look at how I'm going to store it. All in all, a nice bit of an upgrade here. And everything seems to be working fine, and it does have DirectX 11.1 that it can go to or something like that. So, and again, I'll have to get around some time to gaming again to actually test out what can happen, but I have a Benchmark 3 software that I can use, so if anyone's interested in seeing a copy of that, definitely go ahead and do that. Thanks for watching, and hopefully if you have any requests, I'll get to them as soon as I can. Thanks. Enjoy your new year.